there's a lot of things that silver and bronze players probably have to work on. I would say up until diamond, you still haven't mastered the basics of the game. Even in diamond, like you're still picking up some basic mechanics. I myself, for example, I realized recently my movement is pretty terrible. Like my counter strafing is not good. It's really not good. And we can actually load into a practice range right here. I could show you guys. And I'm not a bad player, and I get by on game sense a lot. But like for the most part, hold on, I get by for the most part off of like game sense and like rough aim, right? Like, and what I mean by rough aim, like my aim isn't like oh I get by having bad aim. I mean like my aim is all right, and like whenever I stop, I always come to like a complete stop and then I start spraying rather than like actually counter strafing, which is something I need to do more frequently, right? So if you load into a practice range, say you haven't practiced this like at all before. If you don't know what counter strafing is, by the way, I'll just like give you guys a little bit of an introduction right here. Basically, what counter strafing is when your character moves, you have a momentum, right? So when I stop moving, watch how I let go of the key. It takes me a second to stop. It'll take me a second to come to a complete stop right there. And when you're moving, as most of us know, your bullets go everywhere, right? So what counter strafing is basically, it's just the idea that like rather than stopping and waiting for myself to come to a complete stop, what I'll do is I will reverse my movement and it'll make me fully accurate for a second. So it's the easiest to see when you go into crosshair and you turn on the you have to turn on your outline and you turn on firing error. No, I want movement error. That's not the firing error. Yeah, okay, let's see. Offset. So you see these lines? Whenever those lines move, that means that I am moving and my shot is inaccurate. And every time I switch directions, they close in. And it's not because like I'm standing still or anything, but it's because I'm switching my direction. And as far as the game is concerned, then I'm standing still. So if you don't know what counter strafing is, that's basically just the idea that like you will shoot when you switch directions, and that will be perfectly accurate, or more or less. I think it's 90% or something like that. And you can get like little bursts in with this if you're good enough at it. I'm pretty terrible at this. This is what I've realized recently. And a lot of people have commented this on my videos. I'm like, my movement isn't that bad. And for the record, I stand by this. When the people commented this on my videos, they were not like cases where my movement was like terrible. That being said, my movement is not very good. So this is something that we've been working on recently, where I will load into the range, and to practice my movement and to practice my my shooting mechanics and stuff, I will kind of I'll go to these bots and I'll just practice like little counter strafes and like flicking to the target's head as I do it. And I've gotten a lot better at it. See, that first shot, that shot went way up there, you know? And this is something that you can just practice, right? You can do it both directions. It feels a little bit weird when you go to the left versus the right, for me, because I'm right-handed. I think I'm more comfortable moving to the right, but you can just keep practicing it on these bots, and like this is an okay way to do it, and this is how I've been kind of improving at it. Now, I think the harder part is implementing this into like an actual game. Because a lot of the times you'll practice these skills. Like, for example, you'll practice aiming for the head on these bots, right? I'm going for these one taps. And then when I load into an actual game, I start spraying like a maniac and I never hit any shots, right? So I think that to do this to full effect, you have to also be very conscious of it while you are in game. Like, hey, this is something I'm working on. This is something, this is what I'm going to do for this game. I'm just going to focus on counter strafing, and I'm just going to focus on hitting these targets, right? Or like peeking these angles and stuff. And this is an incredibly valuable skill because, like I said, if you aren't doing counter strafing, what you're doing alternatively is you are waiting to come to a full stop, which means that you'll probably lose a little, like more gunfights than usual. So if I'm going for this guy, notice how if I'm running, I come to a full stop. My first bullet went over here. My second bullet went way over there, right? And although my spray might eventually even out, right? I kill that bot after like second shot. You want to be able to land that first shot, and that's why you counter strafe. It's so you can land that first shot right there. I had a friend who was working on counter strafing, and I was kind of explaining to them. I have an understanding of the mechanic, right? Like I can explain it to people. I'm just not very good at it. I think that in a lot of these situations, this is when you get into the area where this is like very mechanically skill based. A lot of people are like, oh, well, you're only a diamond player. Why should I listen to you or whatever? Or like, you're not even immortal. Like, your tips are useless and stuff. For the record, I don't need to be the #1 player in the world to be able to give players advice, right? Like, a lot of people feel like, oh, if he's not like ranked higher than me, or if he's not better than me at the game, he can't possibly have anything for me to offer. A lot of my breakdowns are based off of what I've observed from watching pro players play. It's not like my personal experience, like, oh, I am the best player in the world or anything like that. So like, I just think that's a very important thing. I saw Morello's post recently too, how he was complaining because people keep telling him as a game dev, he's the lead for character design. They're like, well, you're only gold. What could you possibly know about character design? And he's like, that's not relevant. It's literally not. You could also be ranking up. I am ranking up currently. I don't have a ton of FPS experience. I understand the games to a base sense, and I think I'm able to kind of educate people on it, especially newer players, and like bring them into the game pretty well. But I'm by no means the number one player or anything. We're getting better day by day. That's what it's all about, though. When do you actually use counter strafing instead of usual peeking or swinging? So I think that generally you would use counter strafing if you're gonna like swing an angle. This is my understanding. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because this is where ideas get a little bit faded. But basically, if I was gonna swing this angle, rather than like swinging it and coming to a full stop and like trying to commit to a spray, what you can do is you can like counter strafe, and you kind of use this in style with other peaks. Basically, you should counter strafe pretty much every time you shoot, is my understanding, right? Or if you're gonna be like tapping at somebody with pistols, it's a big thing too. So like say I'm using my sheriff. Sheriff's a good way that you can do it. You'll do like that. Because on sheriffs, you're moving a lot with pistols, right? Basically, you're always going to be moving on a pistol round. And like when I go for the shot on this guy, if I try to shoot him, my shot's going to go all over the place, right? So instead, what I could do is while I'm going for this guy, I could like try to counter strafe him. And I like at this point in time, it's like, well, it's pretty much the same thing, but you're coming to a full stop at least, right? Like you're stopping yourself, so your accuracy is better. And I know my aim is terrible right now, and I'm not very good at this mechanic. But this is basically how it works. If you have info on their position, it works very well if you have info on their position. If you're pre-firing stuff too, works incredibly well. So for example, something I do a lot, if I knew this bot was like right here, or if I knew that this is a common angle, if you're gonna pre-fire an angle, like maybe you're peeking something like tunnels on split, and you're gonna go for the shot on them. A lot of the times this is what you'll do. You'll pre-fire it. You won't swing out and go for like a spray or anything. You give them a little tappy, right? And you can do it kind of like that. I know I was watching a Ron Rambo Kim video recently where he was talking about how you can practice with like the operator. You can do this with the op too. And this is incredibly important for like weapons like the operator. And this is why you'll see a lot of people get these like nasty flicks or like peaks and stuff like that. Because if I'm moving, my operator shot's going to go all over the place, right? But you can actually counter strafe with the operator, and you'll notice that when this red dot appears, that's when my shot's accurate. So you can actually do that, right? And you can kind of like peek this angle, and you can take quick shots at these guys. So I'm getting better with the operator recently. This is part of the reason why. It's just like I've been practicing my counter strafing, I think. And now you can land moving shots on these guys pretty easily, right? You just kind of aim at them, and whenever your shot's ready, or whenever you think you're ready, you take the shot there, right? Oh, that one was bad. See, I messed up. I was moving there, and you can kind of feel it after a while. After you practice for a bit, you can kind of feel it when it's off. So this is just this is something I would recommend a lot of players do. People say incorporate movement into your warm-ups and stuff. And this is the reason why. It's because movement's such a massive part of the game, and you can really tell if a player is good or not just based off of their movement alone, pretty much. This is how a lot of people would identify hackers and stuff. I remember in CS, it wasn't so you would watch a player, right? And a player can be nutty, like they can be fucking crazy, and like when you watch Shroud, for example, he's got crazy aim. Why doesn't Shroud ever get accused of like hacking or something like that when like other players do? You can just like watch one dude and you can be like, he's hacking. One of the reasons is Shroud's game sense is really good, but beyond that, his movement is really good, right? A player who's hacking, oftentimes he doesn't have very good movement, and he's trying to compensate with it by using hacks, right? So a lot of the times in the situations, you'll watch a player who just has like a really stupid movement, and you're like, okay, this guy's like very clearly hacking. He's just a bad player, and he's trying to get by just using cheats and stuff. That's the way that they're able to identify a lot of these guys. That's my understanding. And for the record, anybody who watches my videos, like I was saying earlier, I am still relatively new to FPS. So all of this is just my understanding. If you feel like you know better than me, or you feel like you can educate me, feel free to leave it in the comments below if we do end up uploading this to YouTube. But